Hi there, welcome to Subpar Stitches. My name is Hillary and this is my Flosstube channel. So today's video will be covering June 19th through today when I'm filming, which is July 10th. I was supposed to post a video last week to keep up with my every 2-week rhythm, but it was like a long weekend for 4th of July and I just kind of wanted to chill. So with it having been 3 weeks since my last Flosstube, I do have 3 pages of notes, so strap in. This is going to be probably a little bit of a longer one from me, and because of that, I'm just going to skip past the shout outs and just go through all my regular segments. So yeah, let's just kick it off because I've got 2 FFOs, and they were not like planned intentionally to be coordinating, but they are. So let's start out with the smaller of the 2. So I finished Kanto badges by Srithri. Here is what they look like here. They are actually pins. I turned them into little pins. These were stitched on a 14 count white plastic canvas by, I'm pretty sure it was DMC, and it's just completely stitched in DMC. So these I actually took with me. A friend of mine, she invited me to do like some crafts at a cafe with her, and she's like learning embroidery, and so I was like, well, let me just bring something small and easy that I know I can transport really well, because the cafe was new to me and I just didn't know what the space was going to be like, so I didn't want to bring like a hulking project and then like have stuff everywhere. So I brought these because I knew they were getting close to a finish. They're really, I think it's like under 1,000 stitches, or roughly 1,000 stitches to do all of them. And I actually, in the couple hours we were there, I had finished pretty much all of it. So when I got home, I was like, I might as well just finish these. And then once I finished them, I was like, I might as well just fully finish them. So I cut them all out. I started whip stitching around them in black, and it looked so bad. I don't know if I just was like off my game with whip stitching or what, but and then I glued some pin backs to them, and then I just stuck, you can see on the back here, it's just like sticky felt just to cover up the stitching, and then they became pins. And I have an Ita bag. I posted these on my Instagram in the Ita bag. This is like the insert, but I just think they look really nice. I thought I was going to hate them without the whip stitching around them, but I think that actually it looks totally fine. Maybe it's a cope, I don't know, but I really like them. And I want to make more little pins like this because it's a very easy, quick FFO. Like, you literally just glue a pin to the back, and then I just waited a full day, and then I just stuck the felt on. So super easy. And now I just need some like more Pokemon pins to kind of fill out this section. I have one, but it's on my pin board. So, but I need a few more so that I can just do like a full Pokemon insert. And then my other FFO, this one I sent off to be framed. And this is my Epic Pokemon Generation 1 cross stitch by Lord Libidin, and I took this with me when I was going to StitchCon, and I wanted to stop into Craft Gallery and ask them, like what would the cost of framing be, and they had given me a quote, and then they let me come back and drop it off after StitchCon. So there's going to be some glare because it has glass in it, but I picked this blue frame here. It's like 2 feet tall, so I can't really put the whole thing in. But because Pokemon Blue version was my very first Pokemon game, I wanted to kind of do that as like an homage to that. And like, it's massive. I don't even know where on the wall it's going to go, but it looks so good. The pricing was phenomenal. So originally she quoted me $240, which is incredibly cheap. If you've ever gone to like Michael's or any other place like that to get framed, like they charge you crazy money. So I was like, oh, $240, like yeah, I'll happily pay that for something this size. And then she texted me and she was like, I can't remember what kind of glass did you want, and I like, they have like the UV glass and then regular glass, and I was like, oh, I want regular glass. And she was like, oh, in that case it's only going to be, I think it was like 170 or 180. I was like, okay, perfect. And then she only charged me $20 to ship it. So I'm never getting anything framed from anyone else ever again because you can't beat that price, in my opinion. I highly recommend them. You know, you can ship stuff to her and then she'll ship it back, and like she just seems super reasonable. It was really well packed when she shipped it to me. When the box came, I didn't expect it this fast. So the UPS lady delivered it. I'm like looking at it and she's like, I don't have my glasses on. Is that not the right apartment? I was like, no, it is. I just don't think I ordered anything this big. And then I get it inside and I open it and I was like, oh, awesome. So I sent a picture to my dad and I was like, it's done. And he was like, looks good, which is high praise coming from him because he doesn't say much. But I'm very excited to attempt to find some wall space somewhere and get this hung up. And since that's probably like the final time you guys will be seeing it, I just want to reiterate it was on 18 count white Aida by Kato, stitched fully in DMC, and it was 115,200 stitches. It's the biggest thing I've ever stitched. It's like my second large full coverage. My first was an X-Files poster, and that was only around like 60,000 stitches. And I thought that took a long time, but oh my gosh, that one, I'm so glad to have it finished. So moving on from the FFOs, I have some FOs or finished objects. The first one is Ope by Shitpost Samplers, and I've been doing this on an 18 count white Aida by DMC, fully in DMC. The original colors were pink and yellow, and I just changed them. And I don't know why I threw this in my project roll already, so it's got like a weird roll in it. So I had to get it out today, but here is the finished piece. It's just like a very ornate little ope here. And I need to find like a tall, skinny frame for it. I don't know why this one was such a slog for me to get through. It took me way longer than I expected. It's only 2 colors. It's not like it's really very complicated, but I just found I didn't really like this Aida, and it's the DMC Aida. So I don't know. It's been a long time since I just stitched on like plain white Aida from DMC, I think. So I just wasn't enjoying like the thread pulling through. It kept like tangling and knotting, and it was just pissing me off. And so as much as I was like annoyed with this while I was stitching it, I really do like the stitch. I think it's really funny, just really silly. Ope is just, I think most people know, like it's just like a common like Midwest phrase where you're just like, oh, let me scooch right past you kind of a thing. So I think I need to wash it because like the edges of my Aida got a little bit grimy. So that should not go back in the project roll, but just another finish for 2026. I've been counting them up, totaling them, but I don't actually have the total off the top of my head. So I don't know how many projects I finished, but it's more than 20. I know that. And then I had a very surprising little work finish today, like literally by the skin of my teeth. I'm not even kidding. It was 5 minutes before I needed to clock out, and I did like over 700 stitches this afternoon on this. So this is the small that replaced Ope, and now I'm moving on to my next small next week. I'm excited. But this is Forest House's Raccoons by Owl Forest Embroidery. Like I said, I literally just finished this 5 minutes before I clocked out. Then I came home and immediately started filming. So it is Wrinkly Boy. This one I stitched on something. 32 count antique white even weave by Zweigart. And I used the Owl Forest threads. And here it is. So I love Owl Forest, and I love the Owl Forest threads. And I just zoom right through these. I was about halfway done when I pulled this out, and like I'd only worked on this 3 days in 2025. This was one of my weekend, like once a weekend new start thing project that I was doing. And I had already had like almost the whole, like pretty much like all of this done from there up. And so this past like couple weeks, I've just put in like the 2 raccoons and like everything below it. Today I was just finishing up the little mouse ironing in the shoe here, and it's so cute. I have Forest House's Beavers in the rotation too, and so I know that one's gonna stitch up really fast as well. I know there's a couple other Forest Houses. I think there's Bears, and I think there's another one. So I need to take a look on the Owl Forest website, see if I like those ones as well, and maybe I can just have like the full series. I don't know, but the Owl Forest done in their threads, they're so good. The bottom half is so cute. I love it. And just these big old raccoons. They're just so fun, and it adds a lot of dimension. This thread was really odd right here, that these little like pantaloons floating in the breeze here, because it's like red, brown, and black, so it was kind of like goofy to work with, but I really love how it turned out. Actually kind of zooming right through this, so maybe it won't be a really long video. And then we have some new starts. So I got it in my head over 4th of July weekend because I was like really jonesing for some new starts. I really wanted to start some stuff, like what I've been working on, it just wasn't like calling to me. And I was just kind of like putting in the bare minimum, and I was just like, oh, I'm bored of these. And so I was like, let me just start a couple things. And I was like, since it's 4th of July weekend and I've never really done patriotics, let me try my hand at patriotics. And it was a disaster. I had planned to start 3. By the end of the second day, I was over it, and so I only started 2 for a variety of reasons. So the first one that I started was on July 3rd. This one is called America's Grand Celebration, and it is by Artful Offerings. I had this little cut of 36 count Speculus by Roxy Flossco. On the other half of it, I had stitched the Beekeeper House by Pansy Patch Quilt and Designs. And okay, so there's nothing wrong with my stitching on this one. I really liked it. Oh, by the way, the margins on this are like crazy tight. So basically I'm just going to stitch the animals first, because I'm pretty sure those will all fit just fine. And then if the border doesn't work, then the border doesn't work and I just don't stitch it. But I started with this little goosey guy here, and I think it's fun in these colors, and I think it looks good on this kind of like muted brown. But what happened was I pulled the pattern out to make a working copy. I got a paper pattern when I was at StitchCon, and not only are the symbols quite small, but the pattern almost looks like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. Everything's so blown out. You can't really tell what some of the symbols are in some areas. I was literally so stressed about it. And so I'm like looking at my paper pattern with the picture on the front, trying to figure out like what color is this symbol supposed to be. And then that was too small. So then I'm Googling the design and like zooming in on like pictures of the listing of the pattern, just to be like, is there a stitch there? Is the color right? So was pretty stressed about the pattern. I'm gonna finish it for sure at some point, because I love the goose. I like the animals in it, but I wasn't really thrilled with the quality of the printing of this pattern. And so it kind of like put me off of like, I actually don't know what other types of patterns that Artful Offerings does, but I probably won't buy, like, unless they do like a digital pattern, I would not buy another paper chart from them again, just because, like I said, it was slow going, it was rough, I was annoyed. The worst part too was I was trying to take a picture of a section of the pattern to show one of my friends, to be like, what is going on here? Through the camera lens, it was actually easier to look at the pattern for some reason. So there were a couple times where I ended up just holding up my phone and like using that to zoom in on the pattern, because it just, otherwise I wasn't able to differentiate a couple of the symbols. I wasn't even able to tell where, like, because the boxes are so small, I was like, what box does this symbol end in? It was just not a great situation for me. So then on the 4th of July, I started the one that I was like the most looking forward to, and this is Independence Day by Silver Creek Samplers. And I used this like cut of Ada that I don't even know what it is. I just got it from a friend, and I was like, this will look good with this. And I'm just using the DMC because actually this chart calls for silks, but it has a DMC conversion, but it's so small. I'm like, who's buying silks for this pattern specifically? That's pretty fancy for a little like goofy pun pattern. I was like chugging along. I was like, this is great. I love this pattern. I'm doing so well. And then I got to this one part. So I stitched the ant, I stitched the watermelon, and then I stitched all this red lettering, and then the ANTS is like in a fun, like red, white, and blue font to be like Independence Day, right? And I'm stitching this like red and blue checkerboard in the A, and I'm like, something doesn't seem right, because I was like, I thought the whole bottom of the part of the A was blue. It is. It is. And you know what else is blue? Every single one of these letters that I already stitched, because I mixed up two of the symbols. So there's an X, and then there's like a percentage sign. And for some reason, I was reading that percentage sign as the X. And so we ended up with this. And so I'm going back and forth on if I should rip all that out, because if I don't, I'm pretty sure this blue that's here, that's like the main chunk of where that blue is. I might rip out the red in the bottom of this A, fix that with the blue, finish everything else, and then decide, do I want to, like, does it look weird with the red? And do I swap it for the blue, or does it look fine? We'll see. So that's why I didn't rip it out quite yet, because I was like, oh, I'm still on the fence. But I was like, this doesn't look right. And then I remembered too that Spicy Selena Crafts, she had just posted her fully finish of this on Instagram. So I went and I looked at it, and as soon as I pulled it up, I was like, I've made a huge tiny mistake. It's not that big of a pattern, so it's like not the end of the world that I have to rip it out, but I was just like coming off the heels of like struggling to read that one pattern, and then making such a massive error somehow. I was just like over it. I wanted nothing to do with patriotic stitching ever again. And then the other thing too is the third pattern that I was going to start was also by Artful Offerings. It was like Seaside Sparrow. And I was just like, you know what? We're not doing that one again. We're going to set that one to the side for a while, because I'm not interested in their super tiny symbols. So devastating weekend. So that leads us into whips. And so let's start with my large, which is the Nostalgic Tarot by the Witchy Stitcher. I'm stitching this on a 14 count black Ada by DMC, and I'm using entirely DMC. It's been taking me a lot longer on the current card that I'm working on. I think it's mostly just because it's not my favorite card, but I'm almost done. I think I have like 200 or 300 stitches left on it. I just couldn't finish it before I had to go to bed on Wednesday, and then Thursdays this doesn't get worked on, so I don't know, but I'm almost done with it. I gotta do the back stitching and like the French knots as well, but it is the Priestess. You can see it is almost there. I'm really excited to get to working on this one. I think this is like a possum card, so I'm excited about that. It's not that I don't like this card, it's just out of all of them, like cards 1 and 2, actually the first 3, I'm like, they're fine, but like there's just cards that I really like way more. And I gotta tell you, the top, like the borders of the cards, they're literally half the stitches of the cards. And it looks great, but it's just a lot of like boring stitching to get to the fun, kind of colorful aspect. But I am glad that I've got them all outlined, so I can just keep on chugging along. There are like French knots in her eyes. I'm pretty sure they're probably white or something as like highlights, but right now she just looks like this soulless evil cat, and I kind of like her like that. I'm gonna put the French knots in, but I do like her without like the little highlights, because it just kind of looks funny. But next time you see this, the Priestess will be finished, and I will have started on my 4th card, but card number 3, because the first card is 0. I think the reason too why I've been going so slowly on that is because we've been in like the worst heat wave, and it's super humid, and there's so much excess fabric on that I have to lay a lot of it on my lap while I'm stitching, so that it's not like pulling down on my frame, and like it makes it easier to like flip it over when I need to like tuck the thread under and stuff. And I haven't been loving having to sit with essentially a blanket in my lap while it's so hot out. So I just, I would put like 300 stitches in, and then I'm like, I'm going to play video games. So I don't know, but actually that patriotic debacle reinvigorated me back into my current rotation that I've been doing, which is like my small, medium, and large assigned to specific days. And so on Sunday, instead of pulling out the next patriotic that I was going to work on, I ended up working on what I was actually supposed to be working on, which is my medium project. My medium project is Colors of Summer by, where did it go? Oh, here we go. Colors of Summer by Stitch Rovia. This is being done on 40 Count Avocado by Bestitch Me. It's an even weave, and I'm doing it in DMC. I actually ended up getting some pretty good progress. So here is where it's at. These are just like little color blocks representing like different things for summer. There's one for each season. And I even got most of the backstitching in, so that's a win for me. But let's see, I added the backstitching for Campfire. We have Blue Sky, Wicker Basket, Apples and Pears, Bomb Pop, which Bomb Pop is one that I put in myself. I changed it from, it was like a rocket lolly, which we don't have here as far as I know. This one is Summer Rain. You can kind of see there's like gray raindrops going through. We have Daisy Field. This one was, I believe, Breton stripes, and I changed it to Corn on the Cob, because to me, nothing says summer like corn on the cob. My grandma would always make like fresh corn on the cob, and we always, I don't know how it is in other states, but like in Michigan, there's like a lot of roadside fruits and veggies and egg stands, and we would always go to this one specific guy who'd camp out by the 7-Eleven and get corn there. I'm laughing while saying that because for me that was such like a normal thing to do. And my husband, who grew up like in New York City, when I was like explaining that to him, he was like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Like, you're getting 7-Eleven corn. I'm like, it's not affiliated with 7-Eleven. It's just next to a 7-Eleven. That's what happens when you grow up in a small town. And then these ones are obviously like new. So I've done Juicy Watermelon. I just need to put in the back stitching. And then this one, I think it's just like Bumblebee or something like that. But there are 6 squares left because it's 5 across, 6 down. So if I play my cards right, if I get everything kind of going the way I need to go, and I can do 2 a day, today, tomorrow, and Sunday, and I'll be done with this, and I'll get to move on to my next medium project, which would be nice, because I love the way these ones look. I think they're really fun. It's just, it gets a little bit boring because it's literally an 18 by 18 square, and some of these you can see are just straight up solid colors. So stitching just a square of whatever 18 times 18 is, it's like 324 or something like that. It's just, or is it 364? Yeah, it's something. Math's not my strong suit. Either way, it's a lot. It's over 300 stitches of just like a single color. So it's not like the most enjoyable, but I want to do like an interchangeable stand with these, and I have spring done. Summer will be done, hopefully, God willing, the end of this weekend. And then whenever fall and winter come up, I'll work on those. And then my last whip is a SAL that took place last year, and I'm kind of doing it in like a SAL format this year, where on the first day of spring, I should probably say what it is before I start explaining it. This is Nature's Journey SAL by Sprouting Lupine. I'm doing it on 36 count cold foam by Bestitch Me, and I'm stitching it in the called for DMCs. And so I started the spring quadrant on the first day of spring, and then I worked on it once a week through spring until I finished that quadrant. And I was able to finish it actually a few weeks earlier than spring ended. And so then on the first day of summer, I got to start the summer quadrant. And I think I've worked on this just a couple times, so you can see where the spring quadrant kind of starkly ends, and then you can see what, all this green that I've put in for the summer quadrant. A lot of green in the summer one, but I'm excited because I think there's like a frog down here that I want to get to, and I think I'll probably save the moth mostly for last, just because that's an easy, big, solid chunk to knock out. It is a very like color changey, spindly pattern, but the colors are so beautiful, and I really love my fabric choice, so I am not super concerned about the amount of color changes. Yesterday, I didn't get too much done. I just finished up like all these leaves, and then I finished, like, I had like the outline of this, whatever this thing is done, and then I did like the inside part of it. I had a lot to do after work yesterday, and I just didn't have as much stitching time, but I feel good about my progress so far. Like, I'm supposed to do about 400 a week. I got like 350, but there are weeks where I way overshoot it, and so I'm not worried about not getting it done on time. But this is just such a fun pattern, and once I finish summer, I'll put it away until the first day of fall, and I'll do it all over again, and same thing with winter. Like, it's kind of a low pressure fake sal, I guess, because it's not like I'm saling it with anybody. So that's it for my whips. I do have one other craft, but it's not like super exciting. I just pulled out my Hexi Puff knitting again, and this is for like a Hexi Puff quilt. I need to do 12 of every color to get the amount of Hexi Puffs I need. So this is what like a finished one looks like. I don't know if mine are just kind of wonky. It's kind of weird because it's like you're knitting in the round, but only on 2 needles like this, and then you have the 3rd needle to knit with. So it's a little bit finicky for me just because I got like gigantor hands, and so it's not the easiest. I gotta like tuck these in, but I need a dozen of every color that I have, and then I don't know how I'm gonna arrange the Hexi Puffs. This is like a very long-term project. It's a really like small, very portable project. Michaela of Cinematic Stitches, she made me this bag for Christmas. So, and all my little knitting stuff fit perfectly in here. I just keep it in my purse whenever I have like a little extra time, and it's not like enough time to like cross stitch. I'll pull this out because I don't mind doing a couple rows on knitting and then putting it away because I still feel like I've accomplished something. But with stitching, like if I don't do a minimum of like 300 stitches in a session, I feel like I've done nothing. You know, I'm like, what was that for? I don't know why. I think it's just like visually you can see more being done on knitting sometimes. But I'm just going to keep on keeping on with that. I want to get back into more knitting again because I had a good balance for a minute there when I was working on my scarf, and that was a gift for my brother, but now I'm just like cross-stitching all the time, and I'm really working hard to find some balance in my life, not just with like within my crafts, but with other hobbies like video games, reading, painting my nails, stuff like that. So the past few weeks, I've been trying to make some kind of like big life changes, and this is one that I need to get back to, but I've been doing other life changes first. So like one at a time, right? Like you can't do it all. And I need to get back to my goose socks, but my office, like I've been slowly cleaning it up and organizing it, but I just feel like, I don't know why, I feel like I can't do anything complicated till my craft space is clean because like mentally I just can't handle it. I don't know if that is like anybody else or if that makes sense, but if my space is a mess, my brain is a mess, so I can't handle anything like overly complicated. Not that color work is like overly complicated, but you gotta pay a little bit more attention, and I just wanna be able to not be thinking about 9 other things while I'm trying to work on my color work socks. Okay, so for haul, I do have one thing actually, and it's a digital pattern, and I don't even technically have anything for it yet, but it's I'm pretty sure this is Sprouting Lupine. I just bought it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Sprouting Lupine. It's the Pinned Insect / Evergreen Sal, and I love bugs. I love them. I hate anybody who kills bugs. That's rude. Let them live. Let them do their thing. I'm a big bug person, and I have like a collection of dead bugs that I've just found. Like I didn't find the collection. I just have found over time dead bugs and then brought them home, and my husband's like, please stop, and I'm like, no, not gonna. So I like bugs. I think they're really cool aesthetically, and just, I don't know, there's really no reason. I just like them. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, that was the kid that flipped rocks to look for roly-polies and that sort of thing. So when I saw this was being teased, I was like, yeah, I want that. And then they announced it, and I like completely brain went blank, and I was like, buying that. And so now I've got to pick out a fabric for it, which I plan to do this weekend. And I think it's a pretty long sal. I read the information, and then I immediately put it all out of my brain. So I can't tell you exactly the details, but I think it goes on through to next year. And it's like maybe bi-weekly drops, but I'm not sure. I don't know what fabric I'm going to pick. I have to pull all the colors out and kind of like lay them on the fabrics that I have, because I think it suggested like kind of a more neutrally fabric, but I don't have a ton of like brown neutrals. But I did just buy a sort of brown neutral. It's kind of dark though, so I'll have to see. And when I start it, you guys will see what I chose. I'm probably going to be texting like 9,000 different combinations to my friend Tara from Wilda Woman Crafts though, because she always comes to me when she's in a color crisis, and I'm just like, I'm going to need her to repay me on that one, because I'm so nervous. When it comes to sales, when you can't see the whole design, you just have the colors, I'm always so nervous to pick a fabric, because what if I hate it? And you put in all that effort, you know what I mean? So, but I am very excited to start it. So let me know if you guys are starting that down in the comments, because I love sprouting lupine, and I love bugs, and I love cross stitch. So it's just perfect for me. I literally didn't write anything in the plans section. I guess I don't have plans. My plan is to kit up the evergreen sal and to keep on working on my rotation. I'm so excited because my next small is I'm doing my mediumist, which I'll post up here, and where I was at the last time you guys saw it. So that will be my new work project. And then that will definitely be one that's going to get hung up in my cubicle, because that's how I'm feeling at work these days. And then my next medium project, I believe, is Squirrels of Sumatra by Ink Circles. I love the fabric for that one. It's just a big monochrome piece, so I'm excited to work on that as well once I finish up the Colors of Summer. And I will just keep chugging away on my giant tarot piece. So if you're just here for the stitching, that's all I've got, but I do have my reading, watching, playing section. So if you guys are interested in listening to me talk about how I hate every book I read, some things I watched, and some new games that I've been playing, stick around. We'll start with the books first. I have 6 books. I listened to all of them on audiobook. I just haven't been able to like make uninterrupted time for reading. I prefer to like physically read a book. It took me a while to get acclimated to audiobooks, and it's like, I know there's like this big like, it's the same as reading. No, it's not. I don't care. To me, it's different. Like it just does a different thing, but I still got the story. So at the end of the day, I don't care. So the first book that I listened to was The Long Walk by Stephen King. He wrote this under his Richard Bachman pseudonym, and they recently, in the past couple of years, made a movie of this. I do love Stephen King. He puts out some bangers, puts out a lot of slop as well, but he's a very prolific author. One thing I've noticed about Stephen King, I'm not the first one to make this observation, but this man cannot not put weird sex stuff in books whenever it relates to children. I don't know what that is about him. Don't know what that says about him. Wish he wouldn't. I liked this book though. I thought it was really good. I always check Goodreads reviews after I finished a book just to see what other people are saying, see if I agree, see if like maybe they bring up something that I didn't think of, or like that kind of thing. And one of the big complaints that I saw where people were saying like, felt like a slog, felt very repetitive, and they were saying that in like a negative way. And I agree that it did feel a little repetitive, but like, I feel like that lent to the story, because the basic story is it's 100 boys from all over the US who are going on the long walk where you have to be the last man standing basically. And you have to walk at a pace of like 4 miles an hour, and they're walking like over 100 miles before. And whenever you slow down below that pace, you get a warning. And if you get 3 warnings, you buy your ticket, which they shoot you, you die. And then the last kid who is standing, he gets this prize, which is whatever he wants. Like you get whatever your wish is for like the rest of your life. I feel like I said, that repetitiveness, that like, it just really added to the feeling. I felt like I was feeling the characters suffering and like what they were going through. The movie I know is a little bit different in that it's only 50 boys and they put it to a more reasonable 3 miles an hour, which I was like, good, because that's my walking pace. 4 miles an hour seems crazy to be walking that long, but the ending was interesting. I thought it was really, really good. I do want to watch the movie now. There's a few more Stephen King books that I would like to read. I've read most of the ones that I want to read by him. My favorite Stephen King book is probably Dolores Claiborne. And I also really like The Green Mile. The next book I read was The Caretaker by Marcus, I don't know how to say his last name. It's Kleiwer. I read his first book, which is I forgot the name of it. It's something about we used to live here or something. It was okay, but I was like, okay, well, let me give him another chance. And I thought this would get more interesting as I went, but it just kind of fell flat for me. The only real praise that I would give it is that I'm pretty sure that this book is supposed to be alluding to obsessive compulsive disorder. And as somebody who has obsessive compulsive disorder, I did find it relatable in that way. But I also thought that I don't know, this is toxic to say, but I was couldn't be me in that situation. Cause this girl, she's clearly obsessive compulsive, and she's messing up every single step of this ritual that she has to do to maintain this property, basically. She's a caretaker for this property, and there's all these rituals you have to do, and whether you believe in them or not, you got to do them. And she just couldn't do a single, I'm not even kidding, there was not a single one that she got correct. And I was like, I'd be better at it. I'm better at being obsessive compulsive than this woman. I don't know why that was my only thought. But from the reviews that I read on Goodreads afterwards, I found out that the author started out his writing career over on Reddit, on the No Sleep subreddit, and then suddenly everything kind of clicked into place for me, where I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense with the way that you write and the quality of your stories. So it was fine. It kept feeling like it was going to go somewhere, and then it kind of was just the dialogue was really bad, and then I was just okay, maybe we're going to go somewhere again, and then it was no, not really, so it was just, it was fine. Okay, this next book is called Wretch, or The Unbecoming of Porcelain Caw by Eric LaRocca, and this book was good, and it sucked at the same time. It kept peaking, and then I was like, oh my god, this is getting so good, this is getting so good, and then it would just fall flat. I was like, oh, okay. It's getting edged by a book, I guess. I don't know how else to, I don't know how to say that appropriately. And then at the end, the twist, when it comes, you're just where did that come from? It wasn't a plot twist that comes out of nowhere, but you're oh, I can see now where it was building. It's it came out of nowhere, and I was like, how did we get here? It was just really, they didn't build it enough for it to really sink in. A lot of the reviews said that the main character was unlikable, which he was, but that wasn't my problem. I like media that has a morally gray or even just bad character, because you can still root for them in the perspective of the book. But this guy just sucked, and he was annoying, and it didn't really help me with the story in any way. And also there's this weird cult aspect that they really heavily lean into for part of the book, and then it really just kind of goes nowhere, and then they kind of try to loop it back in at the end, and it was just it didn't make sense. I feel this book had a lot of individually amazing concepts that if you wrote individual books about those specific concepts, it would be so interesting. And I was just waiting, and I was getting excited every single time that we started building on one of those, but then it just kind of felt like it was all just forced together kind of sloppily. I don't know. And then I read the next two Bridgerton books. So When He Was Wicked and It's in His Kiss. So When He Was Wicked, that one is Francesca's novel. And I liked this one because I felt like it was kind of a departure from the regular problems that were happening in the Bridgerton sphere. This is spousal death and miscarriage and infertility. I mean, it's not super deep touching on that because they're just romance novels. I guess I'm not a big romance reader, so maybe there are romance novels that get deeper into it. But as far as like what I've read so far, it's literally just the Bridgerton books and that's it. I don't read romance, and so I just don't know what all the like what the norms are for that. I hate that I'm going to say this out loud, but it was definitely like one of the spiciest of the books that I had read up to that point. I hate when people call it spicy. Like, it's porn. It's just porn. Come on. Like, why do we gotta euphemize it? Like, it's just weird to me. Like, just admit that you like reading about people banging. It's not that big of a deal. And then It's in His Kiss. That one was Hyacinth. I forgot her name. That one was fun. It was like way more lighthearted, way more like, it had like a little mystery in the back of it. And especially coming off the heels of like one that was like a much heavier topic, I liked this one as well. So I just have one left. It's Gregory, right? That's the last kid's name. I just have to wait for my hold to come up. So, and then the last book, I swear it's the last book. It was Allegedly by Tiffany Jackson. I listened to this earlier this week. This book was great. It had me just like on the seat. I was on the seat of my pants, on the edge of my seat is what I'm trying to say. The whole time, because this girl, you know, allegedly killed a baby. And so every time she talks about like, you know, she's like, oh, when I killed that baby, allegedly. And the woman who read for this one, she was great. She did like all these great voices. It was very like, it had me really locked in. And it kind of goes like, you're kind of going to go one of two ways. Either she comes out at the end and she's like, I did kill the baby. Or she comes out at the end and it's what she's trying to say happened, that her mother killed the baby. And so it's like going back and forth. Like they're like, did she cover for her mother in this instance, who her mother has like some mental illness stuff going on? Or did she do it and she has some mental illness stuff going on? And at the end, I was disappointed, but not because like the ending was bad. It's just, like I said, it could only go one of two ways. And I wanted it to go one way and it went the other way. But I thought it was a great read. As far as watching goes, I saw 2 movies in theaters. We went and saw Backrooms. Pretty good. Didn't love the pirate monster, but I'm obsessed with the guy who plays him because he's like 7'7", and I just love anyone who's got just like crazy body proportions. When I was a kid, I was like weirdly obsessed with Yao Ming for some reason. I got a Nickelodeon magazine where you open it up and it had like across the 2 pages, it was like a full color spread of Yao Ming's hand, and it was like true to life. I cut it out and I put it on my wall in my room. I don't know. I was just like, wow, that's a big hand. So we saw that, and then we went and saw the new Minions movie, Absolute Kino Fire Cinema. I used to like absolutely hate the Minions. Now I unironically love them. Can't help it. It was fun. It was just a really fun movie to go see, and also like Trey Parker is in it, so why not? And then lastly, playing. So I got some new games because I 100%ed Raccoon. I got all the achievements. I've defeated the game. I've destroyed it. So then my husband picked up Peak, and we played a couple rounds together. I'm so bad at it. I got it to play with Tara, but I played it with her and her partner once, and I was like so embarrassed by how bad I was at it. I was like, I need to practice before I play with my friends again. So I bullied my husband into getting it. I was like, can you help me get better at this game so that I don't like humiliate myself? So we played it a couple times. I'll see, maybe we can play it again this weekend, but it is not the easiest game. I struggle with the controls a little bit. They're not like super intuitive to me. So I don't know. I got to work on that. And then during the Steam sale, I picked up 2 games. So I picked up Scritchy Scratchy, which is a lottery ticket scratching game. You can see there's a pattern here where I love gambling, but not with my own money. So you're just scratching lottery tickets, trying to make enough money to like buy upgrades and stuff like that. It's very cathartic. I used to scratch lottery tickets with my dad when I was a kid. So I don't know. I just enjoy it. And then I got that library game. I think it's just called The Librarian, that I've seen everybody talk about. They're like, this is so calming, ultimate cozy game. I love it. I have never been more stressed when playing a game. So it starts out, you're in a library, and all the books from every shelf are just in piles on the floor. And you have to pick them up and put them back on the shelves. And they're like in like sets of like 10. So it's like, you know, this book of spells 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 10. And there's, you know, a sociology section, psychology section, like house spells, stuff like that. So you have to pick up the books, go to the wall, look at the thing that tells you where those bookshelves are. And then you got to put them on the bookshelf in like numerical order. And it's so messy. Like there's books everywhere that I just like, immediately I was like, I don't know where to start. Like I like fully in fight or flight mode when I'm playing this game. So I can only play it for like 20 minutes at a time. And it's like, I enjoy it, but it's also like so stressful for me. It's like spiking my cortisol to like levels that don't even exist. I don't know who's playing this where they're like, this is the most comforting game that I've ever played, because you are built different than me. I'm like anxiety peaked, gotta clean this up as fast as possible. I think there's like an achievement where you like finish it in under 3 hours. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't know if I'm gonna 100% this one. But it's stressing me out. So I want to play it some more this weekend, but I also don't know if my heart can take it. Anyways, we're closing in on like an hour of filming, so I need to be done because I have to go film a video for my nail polish channel. So I will be back in 2 weeks with another update, and hopefully I will have picked out a fabric for that SAL, and I will show it to you guys. But until then, enjoy your stitching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.